Look at the clock on your wall. It is not telling you what time it is. It is telling you what time a committee decided you should have. And in some places, that decision is off by nearly 3 hours. There is a city where the sun rises at 10:30 in the morning, and everyone there is at work by 9. There is a country that has been running on its neighbor's clock since 1940, for reasons nobody has bothered to undo. And there are two islands you can see from each other where the calendars are 21 hours apart. These are 20 facts about time zones that sound made up. Start with the thing every clock is supposed to be doing. Noon means the sun is directly overhead, and that is the whole idea the system was built on. The Earth turns 15 degrees every hour, so if you move 15 degrees east, real noon arrives an hour earlier. I calculated the gap between solar noon and clock noon for every major country, using the actual shape of each one rather than a single point. Almost nowhere on Earth do the two agree. China is the clearest case, and it is not close. The country stretches from 74 degrees east to 135, which is 4 hours of real sunlight from one end to the other. Canada covers a similar span and runs 6 time zones. China runs 1. Every clock from the Pacific coast to the Central Asian border reads Beijing time, and Beijing sits at the far eastern edge. So, what does that feel like at the other end? In Kashgar, near the border with Kyrgyzstan, the clock says 8 in the morning while the sun says 5 past 5. The official gap is 2 hours and 56 minutes. To put that in perspective, imagine London running on Moscow time and everyone simply agreeing not to mention it. In midwinter, the sun there does not clear the horizon until around 10:30, and the working day has already started. Which is why Kashgar quietly runs 2 clocks at once. Official Beijing time governs trains, banks, and offices, and an unofficial local time 2 hours behind governs everything else. Ask when a shop opens and the answer depends on which clock the person means. A single question about a single city can have 2 correct answers. Spain gives you the same problem for an entirely different reason. Geographically, Spain sits under the same meridian as Britain and Portugal, so it should run on Greenwich time. It does not. It runs on Central European time an hour ahead, and that has been true since October 1940. The reason is that Franco moved the clocks forward to match Nazi Germany, and after the war, nobody moved them back. 86 years later, Spain still runs on a wartime alignment made for political convenience. In Vigo, on the Atlantic coast, the clock is 1 hour and 35 minutes ahead of the sun. Vigo sits further west than Dublin, and yet its clock reads the same as Warsaw. That single decision reshaped a whole culture. Spanish lunch at 2 and dinner at 10 look bizarre from outside, but by the sun they are 1 o'clock and 9, which is completely normal. The famous late Spanish schedule is not a national temperament. It is a clock that never got corrected. Now for the offset everybody laughs at because the joke is on the people making it. Nepal runs on UTC plus 5 hours 45 minutes, one of only 2 places on Earth using a 45-minute offset. It gets mocked as arbitrary almost every time it comes up, except it is the most accurate clock on this list. Kathmandu sits at 85.3 degrees east, which puts solar noon at 5 hours 41 minutes past UTC. Nepal's official offset misses the sun by 4 minutes. Spain misses it by 95, which is more than 20 times worse. The country everyone treats as eccentric is the one that got it right. India shows what happens when a huge country picks one compromise instead. India runs on plus 530 for a span of 2 full solar hours, so the offset is a genuine average rather than a match. Mumbai sits 38 minutes behind its clock and Kolkata 23 minutes ahead of it. If you fly across India, you gain an hour of solar time and your watch never moves. Kolkata actually kept its own time until 1948 before giving in. Then there is the line that decides what day it is, and it is not straight. The international date line runs down the Pacific, but it bends around Russia, kinks past Kiribati, and swerves around Samoa and Tonga. It is not fixed by any treaty. Each country simply chose which side to be on, and the line is the result. Kiribati made the most dramatic choice. Until 1995, the line cut straight through the country, so half of it lived a full day ahead of the other half, with only 4 working days shared per week. So Kiribati moved the line east instead, pushing a bulge out into the Pacific. That bulge means Kiribati now contains the earliest time zone on the planet, at UTC plus 14. There is a point where a country reaches 2 hours ahead of the physical dateline it is supposed to sit behind. Every new year on Earth starts there. When the fireworks go off in Kiribati, Hawaii still has a full day of the old year left to go. Samoa did something even stranger in 2011. It switched sides of the line to trade with Australia and New Zealand instead of America, and to do it, the country simply deleted a day. The 30th of December 2011 never happened in Samoa. People went to sleep on Thursday and woke up on Saturday. Anyone with a birthday on the 30th simply did not have one that year. The sharpest example of the line is a pair of islands you can see across. Big Diomede belongs to Russia and Little Diomede to the United States, and they sit 3.8 kilometers apart in the Bering Strait. The date line runs between them. When it is Sunday afternoon on one, it is Monday afternoon on the other. You can stand on the beach of one island and look at tomorrow, 2.5 kilometers away. Antarctica has no time zones at all because time zones are national and nobody owns the place. So every research station simply uses the time of whichever country supplies it. The American base runs New Zealand time. The Ukrainian base runs its own, and neighbors a short flight apart can be a full day out of step. 2 scientists on the same continent can be sharing coffee across a calendar date. France holds a record that surprises almost everyone. Counting its overseas territories, France spans 12 time zones, more than any other country on Earth. Russia has 11, and the United States has 11 counting territories. The country most people picture as small and compact stretches further around the planet than any other. When it is midnight in Paris, France is simultaneously living through 11 other hours. Russia's 11 zones used to be an even messier number. In 2010, it cut from 11 to 9. Then in 2014, it went back to 11. There are Russian regions that have changed which hour they live in 3 times in a single lifetime. Now for the thing almost everyone believes about daylight saving, and it is wrong. The story is that it exists for farmers. Farmers were among its loudest opponents because cows and crops keep solar time and do not care what the clock says. It was pushed through in the First World War to save coal, and it has been argued about ever since. A century later, we still move 1 billion clocks twice a year for a fuel shortage that ended in 1918. Morocco found a way to make it stranger. The country stays on permanent daylight time all year, which puts its clock 1.5 hours ahead of the sun. But then it drops back an hour for the month of Ramadan and returns afterwards. Morocco is the only country that changes its clock for a religious calendar, rather than an agricultural one. And the whole system is younger than you probably think. Before 1883, every town in America kept its own local noon, and there were hundreds of them. It was the railways that forced standard time on the world, because a timetable cannot function when each station keeps a different clock. The clock on your phone exists because trains needed to agree on when they were leaving. So what your clock actually shows is not the position of the sun. It is a negotiated line drawn on a map, adjusted for trade, war, religion, and the convenience of railways, and then left alone for decades. Nepal is 4 minutes out. Spain is 95. Kashgar is nearly 3 hours. The clock is not an instrument. It is a treaty. Which of these surprised you the most? And tell me in the comments, because I read every single one. If you enjoyed this, the next video measures another thing everyone assumes is fixed and finds out it is not.